Greetings from Southern Yankee Homestead. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Well, today we're getting into a little project. Yes, we have a Chevy at the house. No, it's not our Chevy. I'm not going to tell you yet what's actually wrong with it. I'm going to show you. You probably saw the description, in which case you already know what's wrong with it, but this will give you an indication of how bad it actually is. So, this is a 2007 Chevy Suburban. We do have permission to film it, but with that, we're not allowed to bash Chevy. That doesn't mean I can't cuss the engineers out if I run into something that I think could have been done a much better way. I don't know what the mileage on it is because the StabiliTrak system is flashing on and off and none of the buttons are working to show me what the actual mileage is. Could just be me not smart enough to run a Chevy too. So with that being said, let's go ahead and pull it into the garage and see what you think of the issue that we're having. So, did you get the audio on that? Yeah, we're pretty sure. This side, wheel bearing shot. Along with that, over my shoulder here, we got brake pads. The pads are not looking good from the back standpoint, so if the backs need to be replaced, the fronts definitely need to be replaced. And given that the wheel bearing is going out, all of the weight is going to be on those brake pads, keeping that wheel from coming off. So let me go ahead, get some jack stands under this, and I'll be back once I get ready to pull off the wheel. So this actually gives a very good indication of a bad wheel bearing. So if I grab this, see how the tire is moving all over the place? Top and bottom. Meanwhile, this one this front to back is the steering, but that's moving smoothly. It's not a wobble, so that means this is good too. So good side, bad side. Now if you're wondering why I didn't pull the wheel off, I didn't loosen it up because, well, there's no reason to loosen it up before it's off the ground. Some people would disagree, but if I was doing it manually, then yeah, it'd be important. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that's part of the bearing. You think the bearing's bad? There we go. We don't have to save that. There. Now we're just gonna throw that down for now. Now normally if I was doing this, I would just move the entire caliper bracket right here at these big bolts. But because we're doing pads at the same time, we're going to remove the caliper and the caliper bracket. But please, if someone can explain to me, is that normal? Can you see that? That is, as far as I can tell, right there even, it looks like the bump stop melted. Like, literally is melting. Is that normal? Let's see. Now to start off, we're going to go ahead and break a bunch of things loose here. Well, actually we're going to, because I haven't worked on a modern GM in a while, we're going to take our time with this. When I say modern, I've worked GMs before, but that was like square body. By square body, I mean old school GMs. So, let's press that a little. All right. Go ahead and turn that all the way for now. What are the odds that's Now, before we go all the way out, while we're still threaded in there partially, we're going to start to get this bearing out. And there's the rest of the bearing. Yay! Before we put the bearing back together, you should use anti-seize on this, but since we don't have any right now, that is just a little bit of grease. And this isn't to help it slip on. This is so that the next person that has to deal with this, hopefully, won't have to deal with beating the hell out of it to get it off. Alright, I did a little research, found out that the hub bearing bolts are 133 foot-pounds, the stud 177. So I think I'm going to be in your way for this one. I think, yeah. Get into it any further, we're going to go ahead and just scuff up this surface a little. Alright, according to the chart, we're at 129 foot-pounds for these caliper bolts. You know what? Go. And for the caliper itself, even though we're not going to put that on yet, caliper mount is 80 foot-pounds. 100. 90. Actually, we're going to go right in the middle. We're going to go for 74. We're replacing both front brake pads because of the wheel bearing. Now, it's not necessarily visible, but let me grab one of these pads real quick. Even though these pads look good, because of the additional strain that was on them, they're probably chamfered a little bit. So when you go to brake again and you go to clamp them, you're not going to have full clamping force until they wear down. Well, that's kind of dangerous. So we're just going to go ahead and replace them. They're not that expensive, and the rears need to be done anyways. And because they come in a kit for front and rear, we're going to do both sides as well as front and back. We got the fronts and we got the rears. It's cheap security. Just go ahead and replace them. No reason to skimp on something like brake pads. But there is a little bit of a difference in them. Can you see that? Yes, the new one. So now we got to compress the caliper. I didn't do this prior. And you can do this on the vehicle itself while it's still on there. I didn't do it because I was just more worried about seeing what kind of damage we had. So we're going to, there we go. Set this here. Take one of our old pads, drop it there. Grab our torque wrench and our 3/4. We've already got it set for 74 foot-pounds. We got to put this back on too. Back to center. Pop this in here. Clip this together. Now, put the wheel back on. So, if you notice when I'm doing this, see how that's moving? That's got a bad lower ball joint. Definitely needs a new ball joint in the lower control arm. I'm not sure if that's a replaceable ball joint or not. I don't know if I am going to be replacing this. Ultimately, we're fixing the bearings so that you can drive it down the road, but it is going to most definitely need a ball joint. I'm not knocking Chevy on this, it's just the front ends are notoriously finicky. But this caliper's all together. Let me go ahead and throw the tire on while we wait for a reply from him, get this off jack stands, and go do the rear brakes. Something a lot of people won't do. They do all this brake work and they'll just forget about the brake fluid. We're going to go one step further, and we're actually going to siphon out a bunch of the brake fluid. Why? Because this brake fluid has been here since 2007. That's 15 years. It's not going to hurt it have some fresh brake fluid in here before we squeeze the calipers. Not to mention, by doing this, if there's any crud on the bottom of this, we'll go ahead and suck that up too. See how it changed there? That wasn't air bubbles. That was that picking up something in the bottom of it. Run this until we get bubbles. There's some bubbles. With that, we're just going to top off with fresh fluid. And then we're going for a ride. Just got back from a test drive. There is a creaking in the front end. I think that is the lower ball joint that is bad. We found when we were checking the brakes. It's going to be on the driver's side. Now that I've replaced the bearing, we have our odometer back. So we've cleared up all the StabiliTrak issues. And with that, it's got about 163,000 miles on it. Still runs good. Has that creaking that I think is the ball joint. We're not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to close this video out because we're not sure if I'm going to replace it or if we're going to have it hauled up to the garage. That'll be up to the owner. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have anything else you want to add, down in the comments below. And to all the new subscribers, thank you. With that being said, bye.